Now, this particular defense attorney's reason for quitting wasn't really a reason at all, making his departure a lot more puzzling.
They go on to say, quote, "It maliciously and baselessly jumps to the conclusions that Mr. Combs is a, quote, monster and a, quote, embodiment of Lucifer with, quote, a lot of similarities to Jeffrey Epstein."
The courtroom drama surrounding Shaw Diddy Combs took an unexpected and electrifying turn, sending shockwaves through the legal community and setting off a media frenzy. In a move no one saw coming, Anthony Rico, one of the most seasoned and high-profile attorneys on Diddy's defense team, abruptly filed a motion to withdraw from the case just 3 months before trial. The timing alone was stunning, but what made it even more intriguing was Rico's silence on the reason behind his departure. With no clear explanation, speculation is running wild. What could compel a legal heavyweight like Rico, renowned for handling some of the most controversial and high-stakes cases in U.S. history, to walk away from such a high-profile client? Was it a strategic maneuver, an irreconcilable conflict, or something even more mysterious?
It could be a disagreement regarding defense strategy. It could be a conflict. It could be a health issue. It really could be anything, and the paperwork doesn't identify it, nor should it. And the fact that Mark Agnifilo is still on the case and the other counsel of record leads me to believe that the judge is going to rubber stamp this motion and grant.
Rico's motion to withdraw is as cryptic as it is compelling. In his legal filing, he declared, "Under no circumstances can I continue to effectively serve as counsel for Sean." The phrasing was deliberate, almost theatrical in its vagueness. He further stated that his reasons for stepping down were protected under attorney-client privilege, making it clear that he couldn't provide details without risking ethical violations. Despite the abrupt departure, Rico reassured the court that the trial would remain on track, as Shan still had a powerhouse legal team in place, including renowned attorneys Mark Gagos and Tenny Gagos.
He was 3 years old. I don't have a lot of memories of my father. They say, you can't miss something you never had. So that's only a little ways right, There's definitely been times as I've
For
gotten
those
older.
unfamiliar with Anthony Rico's pedigree, this isn't just any lawyer walking away. With decades of experience, Rico is widely regarded as one of the nation's top defense attorneys, particularly in high-stakes cases involving capital punishment. He has represented clients in some of the most notorious trials in U.S. history, including the World Trade bombing conspiracy case and the 1998 embassy bombings. Known for his ability to navigate complex legal battles and his relentless defense of his clients, Rico has earned a reputation as a legal powerhouse. His sudden departure from Diddy's defense team isn't just surprising. It raises serious questions.
Potentially, it could be a conflict with the client, right? A disagreement. They just don't get along. The communication is poor. They don't agree on defense strategy. It could be a conflict with one of the other lawyers. Obviously, it seems like Agnifilo is the lead on this case, although Rico was certainly his 1B.
What makes Rico's departure even more perplexing is the apparent camaraderie he shared with Diddy during court hearings. Observers frequently noted the two exchanging notes and whispering during proceedings, with Rico appearing deeply invested in Diddy's defense. He often spoke on his behalf to the judge, and even acknowledged the presence of Diddy's family members who had traveled to New York to support him. Their rapport seemed solid, making Rico's sudden decision to step away all the more mysterious, especially with the trial fast approaching.
Obviously, there's other lawyers on the case. Obviously, a lot of the victims are female. They're going to want female lawyers on the defense team, especially during some of the aggressive cross-examination. That tends to be the conventional wisdom when you're dealing with victims who are alleged victims of assault or abuse. And then it could be a conflict with one of the victims themselves. Maybe maybe Rico consulted with them or even represented.
Speculation is running wild. Could Rico have clashed with other members of the defense team? Lead attorney Mark Gagos is known for his strong-willed, sometimes domineering approach to high-stakes cases. Was there tension behind closed doors? Did Rico and the team disagree over strategy? Or was the rift even deeper? A fundamental conflict with Diddy himself. Defending a client goes beyond courtroom arguments. It demands trust and alignment on the approach. If that trust was broken, it wouldn't be shocking for Rico to step away. But the question remains, what really happened.
Well, when you withdraw, really, still need to protect the client and the confidences. So you don't want to say something that may jeopardize him or the case. And you also need leave or permission of the judge. So you want to provide enough so the judge knows that you're not leaving the client high and dry, but you don't want to provide too much that may compromise defense strategy or a weakness in the case or some other issue that would hurt.
Then there's the possibility of outside pressures. Rico, an adjunct professor at Forum Law University, juggles a demanding schedule beyond this trial. Could personal or professional commitments have simply become too much? Or was it the sheer magnitude of Diddy's legal troubles, over 30 civil lawsuits at last count, that made him wary of being spread too thin, especially in a case already under intense public scrutiny? At this point, it's all speculation, but the timing of his departure has everyone talking.
I think it has to be the defense, the consent, because look, sometimes you can argue that the activity never happened, right? It wasn't me, defense. But this is not your typical assault case. There are a lot of people there, right? There are people that are arranging the workers. There are people that are setting up lights and cameras, booking hotel rooms. Obviously, Diddy has a large entourage.
Adding another layer of intrigue, Rico's departure comes just days after a major legal maneuver by Diddy's defense team. Shortly before Rico filed his motion, Diddy's lawyer submitted a request to dismiss one of the charges against him, arguing that the laws being used in his prosecution are outdated and racially biased. Their focus was on the controversial Mann Act, which prohibits transporting individuals across state lines for immoral purposes. The defense claims this law has a history of discrimination, and that Diddy is being unfairly targeted because of his status as a powerful black man. Could Rico's exit be linked to disagreements over this legal strategy? Perhaps he felt the argument lacked merit, or that it was simply the wrong approach altogether.
Diddy's mom has finally spoken out amidst everything that is happening right now. Janice Small Combs provided a statement to some outlets via her attorney. So she starts off by saying it's very heartbreaking to see her son judged not for the truth, but for a narrative created out of lies.
Despite Rico stepping aside, Diddy's defense team remains a powerhouse. Alongside Mark Gagos and his daughter Tenny, the lineup includes Alexander Shapiro, a heavyweight in appellate law, and Jason Driscoll, known for his precision in handling complex cases. It's nothing short of a legal dream team, but even the strongest teams can face internal conflicts. While Rico's departure isn't necessarily a devastating blow, it does raise questions about what's happening behind the scenes. Meanwhile, the stakes for Diddy couldn't be higher. He faces serious allegations, including accusations of running a decades-long operation that allegedly exploited vulnerable individuals. If convicted, he could be looking at a minimum of 15 years in prison, with the possibility of a life sentence. And that's just the criminal case. On the civil side, he's battling a mountain of lawsuits from individuals claiming they were harmed over the years. While some have been dismissed, others remain active, keeping his legal team in an ongoing fight on multiple fronts.
In her civil lawsuit, Cassie said that she was the victim of abuse, assault, and at the hands of Diddy.
The timing of Rico's withdrawal is particularly striking, coming just as jury selection looms. This phase is critical in any trial, but even more so when the defendant is as high profile as Diddy. Finding impartial jurors who haven't already formed opinions will be a monumental challenge. The relentless media coverage, spanning everything from the charges to the courtroom drama, makes it nearly impossible for potential jurors to enter without preconceived notions. Now, with Rico's sudden exit, the defense must quickly recalibrate its strategy. What makes this case so compelling is that it's unfolding on multiple fronts. It's not just a legal battle. It's a clash of narratives playing out in the media and shaping public perception. Diddy's defense team is well aware of this dynamic. They've already accused prosecutors of unfairly targeting him and have hinted at broader societal biases at play. Their strategy isn't just about winning in court. It's about controlling the narrative and swaying the court of public opinion.
We are not done, and that Combs did not do this alone. Do you foresee that there could be other charges related to this case?
I'm not taking anything off the table.
The departure of a key attorney like Rico injects a new level of uncertainty into an already intricate case. It's a stark reminder that even the most well-coordinated legal teams can face turbulence when the stakes are this high. With so much on the line for Diddy, every development, whether a legal motion or a shakeup in his defense team, carries added weight as the trial date nears. All eyes will be on how his attorneys navigate these challenges. Will they maintain a united front? Or is Rico's exit a symptom of deeper fractures within the team?
Now, to the latest on the arrest of Sean Diddy Combs. This one has so many people talking. The disgraced music mogul facing federal racketeering, conspiracy, and trafficking charges. Both the prosecution and defense teams are set to discuss the next phase of action following the indictment as investigators work to determine potential co-conspirators. But how exactly did we get here?
For now, the question lingers. Why did Anthony Rico really step away? Was it a matter of principle, a personal dispute, or something else entirely? Whatever the reason, his departure adds yet another layer of intrigue to what is already shaping up to be one of the most talked about trials of the year. With the clock ticking toward the May 5th start date, the legal chess match is only just begun.
This is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail cell right now, I think it really underscores the magnitude of what he's facing and the weight of the federal government.
The legal storm surrounding Shaw Diddy shows no signs of slowing down. With his defense team scrambling to regain its footing after Anthony Rico's abrupt departure, the bigger picture is becoming even more chaotic as the May 5 trial date looms. The stakes couldn't be higher. Diddy isn't just fighting for his freedom. He's battling to salvage what remains of his public image and career. And let's be real, the court of public opinion can be just as unforgiving as the courtroom itself. This legal drama is bleeding into every aspect of his life, turning the case into one of the most closely watched celebrity scandals in years.
I think it's to be expected, just the shock of this and the questions about what is ahead of us. How long is he going to be in custody? Is this an R. Kelly situation? Is he going to not get out for a number of years? Is he going to end up serving a long-term prison sentence from this? Or does he have a chance of beating these charges at a trial that could come, within the next 2 years?
Because this case isn't just about one man. It's about the system, the legal strategies, and the competing narratives being crafted by both sides. On one hand, prosecutors are painting Diddy as a master manipulator, who leveraged his wealth and influence to orchestrate a disturbing criminal operation. They argue that he ran a so-called enterprise through his various companies, facilitating acts that are both shocking and illegal. On the other hand, Diddy's defense team is fighting to reframe the story, insisting this is nothing more than a case of consensual relationships being twisted into something sinister. And if that weren't enough, they're also playing the race card, arguing that Diddy is being unfairly targeted because of his status and background. It's a high-stakes chess match, and every move could tip.
It's a question of that, but when you read through the indictment, it's pretty clear who could be indicted as a co-conspirator. Right now, there are people in the indictment who would be considered unnamed co-conspirators, but clearly have played a role in this conspiracy. And I think prosecutors have some big leverage on them because they're hoping that they testify against Diddy as prosecution witnesses.
Let's start with the prosecution's strategy. According to court documents, the government's case against Diddy spans nearly 2 decades, painting a damning picture of his alleged operations. Prosecutors claim he used his companies Bad, Boy Entertainment, and Combs Enterprises as fronts for a hidden agenda, creating an environment where individuals were drawn in under false pretenses, only to find themselves trapped in situations beyond their control. The allegations are staggering. The government accuses Diddy of coercion, manipulation, and using strong-arm tactics to maintain control over those in his orbit. Even more chilling, federal agents allege that he kept meticulous records of these encounters, some of which were reportedly captured on camera. The sheer scale of the accusation.
But there's also strategic reasons for the prosecutors to want him to have co-defendants, because right now he hasn't waived his right to a speedy trial, which would force prosecutors to take up the trial pretty quick, which they actually might not be ready to do. But if they supersede him and have co-defendants with him, it makes it a lot easier to pursue a trial continuance without him waiving his speedy trial right.
the government isn't holding back when it comes to evidence. Prosecutors have reportedly gathered testimony from multiple individuals who claim they were either part of Diddy's inner circle or directly impacted by his actions. Some of these witnesses are expected to take the stand, and their accounts could make or break the case. Beyond witness testimony, the prosecution is said to have physical evidence, videos, communications, and documents they believe will reinforce their claims. They've even filed a superseding indictment, expanding the timeline of alleged misconduct and adding new details, including additional victims. While no new charges were introduced, the broader scope of accusations makes the case even more damning. But here's where things get interesting. The defense isn't backing down. Diddy's legal team has aggressively challenged every move by the prosecution, arguing that the case is built on shaky ground. They've pointed to inconsistencies in witness statements and questioned the motivations of those coming forward, suggesting that many have ulterior motives, whether financial gain, fame, or revenge. They've even taken aim at the prosecutors themselves, accusing them of using this case to advance their own careers. One of the most heated battles so far has been over the Mann Act charge, which prohibits transporting individuals across state lines for immoral purposes. Diddy's attorneys have slammed the charge as outdated and racially biased, calling it a relic of a discriminatory past. In their motion to dismiss, they argued that no white individual has faced prosecution under similar circumstances, framing it as an example of systemic prejudice. It's a bold strategy, one designed as much to shape public perception as it is.
So yesterday, Monday, Diddy celebrated his 55th birthday, but this year was a lot different. It was no Diddy parties. It was none of that. None of that stuff. Well, happily so, I guess, right now. But anyway, so this is his first birthday behind bars.
But not everyone is buying Diddy's defense. Critics argue that these motions are nothing more than strategic delay tactics meant to stall the trial and create confusion. And let's not forget, Diddy's repeated attempts to secure bail have been denied, with judges citing concerns about witness tampering and his potential influence over the jury pool. Prosecutors have even accused him of trying to manipulate public opinion from behind bars, alleging that he orchestrated social media campaigns and leaked materials to sway potential jurors. If true, these efforts could backfire spectacularly, casting serious doubt on his claims of innocence.
Yeah, but so there's still, I mean, it's crazy too because there's still more happening in court. Like, I mean, everything is still active even though we're not hearing about it as much anymore. And the people may be fatigued like we talked about prior to.
And speaking of public opinion, let's not forget the civil lawsuits. While Diddy's criminal case is dominating headlines, the sheer volume of civil suits against him is just as staggering. More than 30 lawsuits have been filed with allegations ranging from misconduct to physical harm, each adding another layer to an already complex narrative. Recently, one of these cases, a lawsuit filed by a woman who accused both Diddy and Jay-Z of harming her as a teenager, was dropped. While that might seem like a victory for Diddy, it doesn't change the bigger picture. Several other lawsuits remain active, and some are progressing at a rapid pace, keeping the legal pressure on him from...
He will be sued. And I say will be because nothing has been filed yet by at least 120 people in the next 30 days.
But what's truly shocking is the sheer range of allegations being thrown at Diddy. These lawsuits span from claims of emotional manipulation to accusations of physical intimidation, painting a picture of a man who allegedly wielded his power with little regard for the fallout. One particularly disturbing lawsuit comes from a former producer who worked on Diddy's most recent album. He claims he was subjected to inappropriate advances while also being pressured to arrange highly questionable gatherings for Diddy's entertainment. Even more damning, the producer says he has text messages and recorded conversations to back up his claims, evidence that could potentially be introduced in the criminal trial. If true, these allegations could severely weaken Diddy's defense, while handing prosecutors even more ammunition to use against him.
It sounded crazy. Like I said before, they said that 2,300 people reached out to the law firm, and out of the 2,300 people, I guess they decided to go with just a little over 100, which seems like it's they just put out the number and everybody's calling to see if they can get a check.
It's insane. It's insane. Now, again, he did say that nothing has been filed yet because he says he wants to make sure that they do their due diligence and get this right.
Adding another layer of complexity is the fact that many of these lawsuits come from people who were once part of Diddy's professional circle, former employees, collaborators, and even longtime acquaintances. Their involvement makes it increasingly difficult for his legal team to argue that these are isolated incidents or mere misunderstandings. These individuals claim they were either witnesses to or victims of troubling behavior, painting a narrative that stretches across years and multiple locations, from New York to Los Angeles and even overseas. The sheer geographical scope of these allegations only underscores how far-reaching and multifaceted this is.
Well, first of all, I can only imagine how sloppy Sean Combs was with evidence when he got busted with those 2 machine guns or 3 machine guns with the altered serial numbers. So I really don't trust Sean Combs or the people around him's ability to properly cover up anything. So I envision that you're going to see at trial payments from his Amex for flights for people, straight payments directly from his company to people.
Legal experts are closely watching how these civil cases might intersect with the criminal trial. While civil lawsuits operate under a different standard of proof, they can still influence a jury's perception. If prosecutors can highlight common patterns across these cases, it could bolster their argument that Diddy's alleged behavior wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a larger pattern. On the other hand, the defense has been quick to point out inconsistencies in some of these civil claims, arguing that they're opportunistic and meant to capitalize on the wave of negative press surrounding Diddy. It's a delicate balance, and how these civil cases unfold in the coming weeks could have major implications for the trial.
Time frame is important because this happened in hotels, in places that have surveillance, that there's records that could be consistent with his testimony about when he alleges that these parties took place. He probably has his own information about who attended the events. When you're somebody like Sean Combs and you're such a celebrity and you're engaged in this type of behavior, people around you are memorializing it on their own.
One of the most high-profile civil cases involves Cassie Ventura, Diddy's former partner, who has accused him of a disturbing pattern of behavior throughout their relationship. Her allegations are particularly damning, as she claims to have endured years of mistreatment. Her case is expected to be a key factor in the criminal trial, with prosecutors likely using her testimony to establish a broader pattern of misconduct. And here's where things get even more complicated. Cassie is reportedly pregnant with her 3rd child, a detail that could make her testimony even more impactful in the eyes of a jury. Public perception plays a major role in cases like this, and the emotional weight of her story could significantly shape.
Actually thought that he was above the law, so I can only, think that, he was sloppy in the way that he did these crimes, that there's probably a trail of evidence, not only involving him, but everybody in his circle that he would, delegate these responsibilities to. And those people are when they're...
As the trial date looms, both sides are preparing for what promises to be an intense legal battle. The prosecution is expected to rely heavily on victim testimony, using their accounts to paint a picture of a calculated and deliberate operation. They're also likely to lean on the physical evidence they've gathered, from videos to communications, to strengthen their case. Meanwhile, the defense will aim to dismantle the prosecution's narrative, questioning the motives of witnesses, and casting doubt on the evidence presented. It's a classic courtroom showdown, one that will test the skills of everyone involved. But beyond the legal strategies and media spectacle, there's a human element to this case. People who claim to have been harmed and those accused of inflicting that harm. The emotional weight of the trial will be enormous, and the jury will have to sift through conflicting accounts to determine the truth. Yet the impact of this case extends far beyond the courtroom. Diddy's reputation, career, and legacy are all at stake, and the outcome could redefine how he is remembered. So, what's next for Shaw Diddy Combs? With just months to go before trial and the unexpected departure of Anthony Rico, his defense team must regroup quickly. Every decision will be scrutinized, every move analyzed. As the legal battle intensifies, the world will be watching, waiting to see how it all unfolds. Will Diddy emerge victorious? Or will this case mark the end of an era for one of entertainment?